Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for participating. My name is Bessem, and I'm talking to you today about radical innovation in general and what it means to find opportunities in times of a crisis, in times of chaos. But let me quickly introduce myself to you. Currently, I'm founder of Unbefangenheit, an innovation agency. Before I have managed the operations of an innovation space at Airbus for several years, then moved to PwC, worked there as a senior strategic innovator, mainly supporting clients in developing innovation spaces and developing their innovation strategies. Now serving Ergo Digital Ventures as a strategic innovator and in parallel, I'm co-founder of the Social Business Campus in Mönchengladbach, doing some great stuff here with amazing partners. So about Unbefangenheit, which is a German word, by the way, we are active in the business of exploration. So we are always in search of deeper meaning and new opportunities. And we do this by asking questions, a lot of questions. And even our name can be defined in so many different ways in Germany, which is quite funny here, right? Because normally Germans have like everything specified clearly, but in this case, it can be defined in so many different ways. And so we like to approach the unknown, and to be unbefangen means to be unbiased, to look at certain things without prejudice. So, and if you look into innovation or innovation management, so most of the employees there who are unbefangen are not restricted by certain thought patterns, right? Their way of thinking is completely free, open-minded, and neutral. And we are convinced that the solution of the future cannot always be based on past experiences here. So we must be open to new thinking on and to what is emerging in the world now. So it takes definitely courage and willpower to move away from merely recreating what exists and instead create the solution of the future. And that is our dream, that is our ambition. So why do we meet up here today is that the decade ahead will be shaped by powerful economic, political, technological, environmental, and socio-demographic global forces impacting individuals, societies, organizations, and governments. So collectively, these forces are driving the need to review many of our governance institutions and systems and highlighting the necessity for new thinking and large-scale change to serve a rapidly changing world that we are at right now. So all of you know Jeff Immelt, the former CEO of General Electrics, and he once says, if you went to bed last night as an industrial company, you're going to wake up this morning as a software and analytics company. So the world is changing quickly, not only technology-wise, but also when we take a deeper look into consumer behaviors, etc. So we must innovate to remain on the market here. So that leads us to what the heck is radical innovation? Radical innovation aimed at destroying, radical innovation aimed at replacing, and radical innovation aimed at creating. But to get a better understanding of that, let me put it into a context of other types of innovation, because you heard of incremental, disruptive, sustaining. So what does this all mean? So let's have a closer look into that. And so what we thought about is that innovation can be categorized in so many different ways. So and how it is here inspired by Weimar, it's that it is clustered in two dimensions. One of the dimension is the x-axis over here. It's about the technology newness, and the y-axis of the impact on the market. Is it a new market, an old market? What is the impact on the market we are at right now? So let me just start with incremental innovation. So incremental innovation are existing business models or existing businesses that innovate as necessary to stay in the game. So here it's about small scale improvements to add value to products and services. And as you see as well in the market, incremental makes 70% of all innovation activities here. So the products and services that your organization are innovating here, it's always doing the next little step. Okay, being a little better with the next step. So example like adding a new feature, and let's take Gillette as an example here. It's a great leader on the market. They're harnessing the existing technology and an existing business model. So this company started their life with one single blade, and with the times, it has adding more and more blades and different features to meet the customer needs. Let's have a look on disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation are new businesses that challenge existing firms and products. Yeah, so they're often successful because they enter the low end of the market, snagging customer largely ignored by established companies. And this kind of innovation disrupts an existing markets and make use of new technologies. So for example, let's take Uber. So Uber is a rapidly growing ride-sharing service, as you all know, and it has disrupted the traditional taxi cab business here. And actually, it has disrupted this taxi cab business by a mobile platform connecting consumers who needs rides with drivers willing to provide them. And so we as consumers or customers no longer have to stand at the street and wave down a cab. So we could just do it via this platform. And the trip is definitely cheaper than a usual cab ride over here. And what we could see here from the business model perspective is as well for the providers, so for the Uber drivers, they don't have to get an $800,000 license for driving a cab or for driving people around. So that is quite impressive over here. So disruptive innovations means technology or new business model that disrupts the existing markets. When we get to sustaining innovation, um, it's about doing a significant improvement on a product that aims to sustain the position in an existing market. So we want to improve our existing capabilities in an existing market, and we have a pretty clear idea of what problems need to be solved and what skill domains are required to solve them. So we want to continue to grow the market slowly, but no longer in the same proportion. So that means the focus here shifts to increase profits. And as an example for that, let's take the iPhone. Yeah, so currently fully sustaining and profitable, it is the iPhone. So the recent versions of the iPhone appeal to the same customer segments and do not really create new value networks in here. And as the criticism of lack of innovativeness of the new iPhone has increased, the firm's profits definitely have grown at the same pace. Jumping over to radical innovation here. So radical innovation is really rare and it has similar characteristics to disruptive innovation, but is different in a way that it is simultaneously uses revolutionary technology and new business models. So of course, this type of innovation faced significant resistance at first because it is so different from what you have seen before, what you have experienced before. And this typically requires a lot of time to develop and, of course, technological development before it is ready to be mainstream on the market here. To give you a couple of examples on that is we all know that, yeah, Netflix versus Blockbuster. So I think it's an excellent example of the role of radical innovation can play to disrupt an industry in here. So Netflix, when they entered the home entertainment industry in 1997, as a mail order DVD rental service. Blockbuster um, was the main competitor in here. So, and they highly underestimated Netflix because in the year 2000, Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million. And instead of going for radical innovation or going for change to counter Netflix's market entry, so Blockbuster just sat back and they did nothing. So we all know how this story ends. Netflix disrupted the industries, claiming so many smaller markets for themselves. And to give you a couple of numbers in here is 2000 Blockbusters had 7,700 stores, where Netflix have served 420,000 subscribers. 20 years later, in 2020, Blockbuster only has one store and Netflix 172 million subscribers. This is just amazing. It is 400x or more, which is quite heavy. The next story is about an agriculture equipment manufacturer called John Deere, and they truly believe in digital technology. So, from self driving tractors to soil monitoring sensors, and they really believe that it can dramatically boost global farming output. So, the story here is another example of how radical innovation can make or break a business. So, John Deere is one of the largest manufacturers of farming equipment. They took notice of emergent sensory technology and added sensor to its tractors, so farmers could track and monitor their crops yield via sensor, which revolutionized the farming industry here. So by embracing radically innovative change, John Deere created raving fan customers by filling an unmet need in the market, right? So great examples, check out on YouTube. There's some nice videos ongoing there about John Deere and how they innovate. The next example is about the iPhone. So now you're questioning yourself, hey, why the iPhone? It was before talking about sustaining, but it is not really about the iPhone itself. Yeah. So the device faces a worldwide popularity, of course, and but the iPhone is not really new technology. The software, the interface, and everything derived from the iPod before. So what is radical about here? It is the iPhone's computer capacity that was developed there, because rather than just adding a few new features to an existing phone, Apple shifted the complete concept underpinning the iPhone by introducing a product equipped to meet the whole user's total communication needs in real time. So Apple had the chance to completely just transform the digital communications industry by it. And they did it by applying its core competencies, which is technology, to a future goal. To a future goal, and the goal was a handheld computer. And Apple achieved this and really impacted the whole world with that. So, how do companies actually behave when they're in crisis? So we see most companies impose a budget stop and rather spend less on innovation and R&D activities. But let me just first explain to you four types of four stages where innovation or where companies go through. The first thing is the path. Every company follows a path, and that can be of a problem once we are stuck on this path without any flexibility, because we are repeating past decisions and start missing opportunities that are close within our grasp, and that because of the fact that we were succeeding. But when we have something like a crisis, that mostly leads to chaos. And this is why it can shift the path we are on, right? So chaos causes so many disruptions in opportunities simultaneously. And actually, a crisis is not always a bad thing. It could help companies to reassess the path it is on and adapt. And in our current situation with COVID-19, I'm very sorry for everyone here about the situation we are facing altogether. Um, we found ourselves in a critical economic situation, and that leads definitely to a crisis, and that leads us into a period of chaos, and perhaps as well a recession where the decades reshuffled and we enter a reorientation of our paths. So, if I would talk about radical innovation, only half a year ago, I would be speaking about something technology wise, about artificial intelligence, or augmented reality, mind reading, and I would introduce so many different technologies to you that would reshape our lives. But let's go through this year. So, what can a crisis change? So, what does it mean for a company to be in a crisis? So, we found out that consumer needs change quicker than ever. We found out that consumer needs get erased completely. But as well, a crisis creates urgency and the desire to experiment. A crisis creates opportunity. A crisis changes the game plan and who is on the lead. And the crisis switches who is on top. So you all may heard about the chaos theory, and I recommend you to have a look on that because it's quite interesting in here. Because the chaos theory concerns deterministic systems whose behavior can, in principle, be predicted. Yeah, chaos is predictable. Um, Here, the interesting point is that chaotic systems are predictable for a while and then appear to become random. So in this case, I think that chaos can bring a lot of opportunities and possibilities. So you need to solve a new consumer need in here. So there's a possibility for you to use this this chaotic times to be aware of solving something new. Thrive when others retreat. Here, Booz and Company, back then, after the financial crisis 2008 and 2009, they analyzed the R&D investments during this financial crisis. And the result was that the most top 100 companies now increased the R&D budget during the crisis. So be irresistible to a specific target group, because chaos changes the rules and as well rearranges our business. Chaos switches who is on the top. That means to those of you who study their consumers methodically are more likely to adapt. So everything what you've done before, all the research you've done before, is now irrelevant because everything is changing. So you have to restudy your customer and your competitors again. And that leads to one open question that I have always, which is, why don't we see the opportunity until something really bad happening here? And yeah, you have the feeling that mostly you can only tell it from the outside, and that explains why you can tell the trend that could impact the market. And sometimes to make change, you just need to be shocked here. 97%. So a PwC survey found out that 97% of all CEOs asked listen innovation as a top priority. And you see there's always the desire to innovate, but not everyone puts in the same effort to make innovation happen. And a research of Trend Hunter shows that 50% of the companies don't really believe the organization has a strong innovation plan. 56% don't believe they have enough time to work on new ideas, which is quite funny, right? And you can feel that there's a huge disconnect between what the CEO wants and what the organization is capable of doing, and that is the untapped potential here. So we have to learn to innovate and experience a new level of success here. And to enable innovation, it is important to bring a methodical stock portfolio somehow. So, and that leads us to how to facilitate radical innovation. You may know this, I'm not sure about that, but what we want to avoid is that when we innovate in organizations that will end up like this here. So we are talking about Sweden, when Sweden switched traffic system from left to right in September 3rd, 1967. So, and for that, we have thought about a framework funnel that you have seen so many funnels before. This is the funnel we have created just as a highly overview, as a perspective to show you where we want to go through when we aim for radical innovation. So the first point, and as a strategic advantage, relies on the ability to anticipate trends and to identify the next big things. We will go for a hunt first, right? So for this, you have to develop your own toolkit because hunting is not always easy. How to search for good opportunities, how to search for good ideas, where to find them, and these kind of questions will pop up. And a process could look like that. So you start collecting ideas. You then filter and find the best nuggets in them. Then you go to refine these best findings. You will rank them then, and then pick out couple of them to focus on. That leads us to innovation. So now we have to innovate. We have found out that three of them, or let's say three of the nice opportunities we hunted, we want to dig deeper in. And to increase the consistency of being on the top level, you need to manage your innovation abilities in a methodical and especially in an adaptive way. So we'll dig deeper a little bit more in the next slide. But let me tell you that if you want to innovate, you have to be methodical and at the same time scientific about it. So define the problem and the customer needs, ideate like it matters to you, refine in interdisciplinary small teams, create rapid prototypes, and test and validate with your customers. All right, always put your customers and users in the center of what you're building. So, and this you have to repeat all and over again. So, it's not only methodical, it's as well circular as we could see here. Then, of course, when we work on breakthrough ideas, we have to spread it. So, and if you want your idea to break through all the noise out there, you need to tell a well-packaged story. So cultivating the spread, your ideas will resonate and help you make a jump ahead of your competitors. So, and what I could advise you to package your product, package it like it's the best in the world, right? Rather tell a story, sorry, than the logic behind, because people have an innate ability to understand social stories. So screw logic, tell a nice story there. Underline your message with culture and emotions. Be conscious while aiming for emotions in here. And while formulating your purpose, you have in mind that people are better at remembering messages with 7 words or less. So magic number here is 7. And to dig deeper on the innovation part is this kind of framework here that is inspired by the Board of Innovation. You can find it as on the homepage as well, where you could also find some nice tools. I'm not working for Board of Innovation, but it's a brilliant page to get inspired by. So I think when we innovate, the first question we have is, okay, let's check on the 3 lenses of innovation. So is it desirable, is it viable, and is it feasible? And so when working on innovation methodically, we have different granularity levels in here. So first we would check all these kind of 3 lenses, what is possible. Then going down, working out, okay, where's the strategic fit? Can we get to a problem fit? Working out a solution fit, and of course the market fit. Then underpinning with some methods and tools of design thinking, lean startup, and the agile scrum, as you see here. And for me, is design thinking is not only a method that you could use for every problem that you face, but design thinking is more a mindset here, where you could pull out different methodologies out of the toolbox to make use to innovate here. to understand, empathize with your end users. Then when it comes to building your product using the lean startup framework, is build, measure, and learn. So that you build a prototype, you go out, show it to your end users, you measure the outcomes, and then you try to learn of it and put the learning again into the new iteration. And when it comes to the development, especially here is in digital solutions, we often make use of the Agile Scrum here. So what are success factors for radical innovation? So, and here what is needed, what is needed, right? So committing to radical innovation is your very first step in changing your industry, and with that changing your mindset while growing your business. So leverage your core competencies, your team, and the existing assets to reach your future goals here. One of the success factors is the mindset. Adopt the correct mindset. So to innovate, it requires an open mind, to be unbefangen, and a willingness to take chances. And if you harbor doubts about yourself or your stuff or your company or your business, you either need to cast those aside or confront them head on. So, and because what you think about yourself and your company is what you believe, and radical innovation is all about taking risk and acknowledging that you might fail as well. So, work on your mindset there. Then, prioritize communication and feedback. Teamwork here is a huge factor, and that's the game plan in here. And it comes and teamwork is needed actually to master radical innovation. And think about your stuff, or thinking of your stuff as an untapped resource for industry transforming ideas. Yeah. So creativity should not be locked away at the top of your hierarchy, and it should not be limited only to your stuff. Open up the lines of communication across all departments and make creativity a priority here. So be transparent with what you're doing. Be prepared to embrace technology to remain competitive. Yeah, put your team to work experimenting with the technology you already have, so you understand what's at your disposal. So remain abreast of technological advantages or advances, and keep an eye out for opportunities to innovate. And I can recommend you here the Gartner Hype Cycle that comes out every year, which is quite interesting, showing different emerging technologies like blockchain, robotics, quantum computing, and all these kind of technologies on a nice hype cycle. And the last success factor is failure. And as you work to embrace radical innovation, you will likely to try and fail before mastering your process and the systems you're working in. And that is a good thing. So failure is a path of growth. And even if it's sometimes painful, and most people look at failure as a bad thing, but in an innovation, it is rather a learning than a failure. So I would love to call it more a learning than failing. So rather than just buckle under disappointment or the fear of failure, learn from it and keep moving forward. So keep in mind, you don't fail, you learn. So to remember what we have talked about is, and let me first introduce this one here for you because I really like that. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, and people told them, like, if you want 10,000 new customers, you have to build a new warehouse and this and that. And Jack Ma's answer here, for me, only two service. So in these times, in these chaotic times, you have the permission to innovate, you have the permission to fail, and you have the permission to save the company. And to wrap up and motivate you a little bit to move on with that, having a look on these companies like Airbnb, Disney, MTV, Hyatt, Burger King, Apple, Uber, Slack, Pinterest. All of these companies, they were founded during a recession. Thank you very much. Let's stay in touch. If you have any further questions about anything here in the presentation, just ping me at hello@unbefangenheit.com, check our webpage, or yeah, check out here the QR code and get in touch via LinkedIn. So if you like that presentation, feel free to share, feel free to like or leave me a comment, give me your feedback, because that would be awesome to get better the next time on that. And if you're interested in other innovative topics, please just let me know if you want me to present to you some other nice stuff in the fields of innovation. Always searching for nice topics that I would like to exchange about with you. Thank you. See you soon.